We need to be having formation of parties, not along tribal lines, but along the issues that are affecting the country.
Our aim is not to make money from this ivory, for we all know that an elephant's ivory is only worth its price when alive.
Welcome to another wonderful episode of the Great Debaters Contest. This is the Connect edition. We want to give you fresh perspectives and new looks on past debates and past debaters as well. And of course, we got the very best of the debaters from our previous years, and we gathered them here to form an expert panel. I am Mariam Bishar, and I'll let my panel introduce themselves.
Nuru Said Salmin, and I'm from Olympic High School.
Rodney Wesonga, JQuat, I'm studying law.
My name is Bill Omondi. I play basketball.
I'm Shanina Muthiara, biomedical engineering student.
I'm Edward Njoroge, actuarial science student.
A debate from Kiambu region. We had Limuru High School going versus St. Francis Mangu on whether a one-party state would curb ethnicity. Do you think the teams did justice to that motion, and what do you think of their arguments?
Okay, the opposers mentioned about democracy, which is commendable in my opinion, because a one-party state goes against the principles of democracy, because that is seen as dictatorship, because there is nobody who will keep you in check as the ruling party. You are answerable to no one. In short, anything that you do will not be under scrutiny. So I think they tried.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So you think it was a fair job?
Fair job.
Okay, Shanina?
I think the debate was well done. However, I feel like they would have looked beyond tribalism, because when you're talking about ethnicity, it's basically people who have a common a belief or idea. That's the whole essence of an ethnic community per se. So I think if like the proposers used that, then they'd have an upper hand, because if we're coming together to form a party, then that means we have the same views, which is true. And also on the point on bringing in tribalism again, I don't think that what they said was true, that when you look at the parties that we have, you find that they have the same tribes. We find that you can find, like, for example, Jubilee has Kikuyu and has a Kalenjin, and we have the other parties as well. You can see that it's not just one tribe that's represented in the party.
Okay, Bill, you disagree with Shanina?
Okay, not really, but I'm thinking we can't write off the idea of tribalism or ethnicity, yeah? Because we've been there before as Kenya, and we saw that during the era of one party, most tribes again ganged up to fight that same system, yeah? And again, in this era of multipartism, we see again ethnic groups, they come together to form alliances, yeah? So there's a clear-cut line between ethnicity and parties, yeah, especially in politics, yeah. So we can't tie the two together, yeah, per se. And to me, ethnicity, like she said, it's more of ideology, yeah, and you come together as people of one group, yeah. And to some extent, it's not always bad, you know, to belong somewhere, yeah. The only bad part is when you start inflicting negative ideas based on your ethnic groups, yeah. Yeah, so to me, I didn't tie the two together being...
Okay.
To me, I think that in Kenya right now, we are okay with multipartism, and I can say that most people have the mentality that parties are mostly affiliated with a certain tribe, but I don't think that should be it. We should all stop having that mentality, because we form these parties so that we can create grounds for people to vie for political roles.
Edward, I want to ask you a question. In the paper, I guess this weekend, there was a quote taken from President Daniel Arap Moi in the late 80s, just when multipartism, the fever for multipartism was starting to catch fire. And he said, he actually almost stated our motion verbatim. He said, I will not allow multipartism in this country because it will bring about ethnicity. Those were his words. He said, I don't want multipartism to tear down this country. So, looking at that was like 1989 versus 2016. Do you think he was right, or it was just a ploy to try and avoid multipartism?
So, first of all, it's very possible that he did predict it. because to say that there's never been a true connection between, let's say, parties and ethnic groups and so on and so forth would be a lie. Every party has its strongholds, and and more often than not, it involves people from the same ethnicities. So I think in that respect he was right. However, I think there's probably a power struggle such that even if there was a one-party state, there wouldn't have been satisfaction as long as it was dominated by a particular ethnic group.
So then let me pose a question to anyone on the panel. So how do we do that? How do we ensure that we move from ethnic affiliations to ideology-based politics when we form a party and I don't have a stronghold, as Edward has said? You know, I have people from all over the country. The only thing is that they're like-minded when it comes to political ideologies.
According to my views, it will take quite some time before we start to change the mentality of people to be based on what good ideas do you have that will make me vote for you. Yeah, because we find that the game of politics, especially in our country, it has been broken down to the tyranny of numbers and like strongholds, as he said. Yeah, and it's what anyone who wants to get into politics will see first. You know, where do I come from? You know, which party am I going for? Instead of what ideas do I have good for these people? Yeah, and to some extent, if I look at our country, you know, it's one thing to be literate and it's one thing to be political literate. Yeah, because so many people out here, they are also tied to the same ideas. Yeah, of being from the tribe, and you know, and what you'll say, however wrong it is or right it is, I'll go for it because you're from my tribe. Yeah, and it will take a while before this literacy that we have, that we stop seeing things in terms of tribes, you know, and other groups, and we see them in form of ideas. It will take a lot of time before it spreads to everyone, because it's what our leaders use mostly, because they notice it's a weak point to so many other people. You know, as long as I say I'm from this tribe, you know, so many people already are with me. Like Shina always tells us, it's a mentality we have to start instilling now. You know, the fact that I think in the same way with you and you and you, it's upon us to start right now and impact the change on the people around us, and that's how it will grow. But for me, it will take a lot of time. Trust me.
A lot of time.
Yeah.
I think that one is unanimous. The other debate that we want to talk about was between Chania Boys and Dr. Rabira High School on whether the banning of ivory is an effective deterrent to poaching. So how do we save our wild animals?
First thing is something that Rodney always points out, and that's the point on corruption. Because I feel like if they're selling ivory, then there must be someone who's eating something for them to live wherever they're living. Another thing is to strengthen our security forces, because how are you countering someone who has more superior arms than you are, you know? So if we're able to do that, then I feel like if the security is well established, then I guess we'll be able to keep our wild animals safe. Yeah.
So corruption and empowering our security forces. Edward?
My idea is tougher, but it's probably the best. Just kill the market for it. It's very simple. First of all, as long as it's illegal, the prices will probably be far higher. That's just the truth. So let's say if the market was removed completely, which I agree is a very tough thing to do, but if that were to be done, and people would see that there would be no profit from that area, then there would be no point in pursuing them.
The reason why we are still experiencing a lot of poaching is because, one, ivory will not leave the country without anybody in authority knowing about this. So we have people who are in power who know these things, how they are going on, but they have a share. They're earning out of it. Why would I cut the hands that feed me? So another thing we need to do as part of putting a deterrent effect on poaching, the judiciary needs to put tougher measures in terms of penalties if found in possession of ivory or anything gotten out of poaching. The WCMA which is the Wildlife Conservation Management Act. They have tried to make the penalty for poaching tougher, but in my opinion, it's still not enough. We need strict measures because honestly, the main reason why poaching is still rampant is because the risks and the profits, when you compare the two, the profits are more. I'd rather take the risk and gain out of it, because if the risks were more and the profit is less, why would I venture into that? Because let's agree on this, the market for ivory is rampant in Middle East. That is where they want to make medicine, they want to use this to make ornaments. So we need to put strict measures in terms of the judiciary. The market, as Njoroge said, we need to cut off this market. Because in the end, the reason why poachers have better arsenal compared to our security forces is because, one, this market is funded by terrorism and terrorist groups. Okay. That is a fact.
So it's a very wide chain.
Again, when we stop seeing animals as just animals and maybe they are part of us, and trust me, they earn us a lot of income, yeah? If we start seeing them as that valuable, then we'll have the urge to go and protect them more than we are doing right now, yeah? Because I find it funny that, yeah, like the same way we saw the lion that was roaming being killed, you know, it turns down to show us that maybe we don't value it as much as, you know, we don't see past it being a lion, you know, we don't see the much that it's bringing us and the much that it's attracting so many other like investors and, you know, tourists to Kenya, yeah?
Just very quickly before we go on break, yeah? What do you think?
Well, I think we should educate the masses on the importance of these animals so that they can also be able to protect them.
Thank you very much. We'll go on break now, but when we come back, we'll be discussing more debates. And remember to keep the conversation going online, on Twitter at Great Debaters EA, and on Facebook at Great Debaters Contest. I will be right back.
Let us not oppose homeschooling, but better yet, let us review it. We all stand for a common interest, that is educating our children in the best way possible.
And when an equal opportunity does not produce equal outcomes, then it is an inequality.
Welcome back to the show. We are, of course, talking to our Connect Edition panel, and now we want to tackle some very interesting education matters. Kompiora High School went versus Meriliki Girls on whether homeschooling should be banned. And I think they all had very interesting arguments across the board. So I'm going to ask you first, what were your opinions on their arguments?
First of all, the proposers, they argued on the point that somebody who goes for homeschooling, you're not a social being. You're used to an enclosed environment. You don't interact with many people as compared to when you go to a classroom or an institution where you're exposed to so many people, different backgrounds, especially national schools, where they pick students from so many parts of the country. So you get to learn about the way other people live, because life is not all about your house. There's a life waiting for you outside. We do know that in university you cannot homeschool. So why should you give homeschooling until high school? So are we giving this person now, when they're going to university now, face the world? This is how the world looks like. Are you ready for it? It's more of like baptism by fire. The proposers, they argued on the point that in homeschooling there's a personal appeal. You get to interact with your teacher face to face, one-on-one. They can pay attention to you more. There's no peer pressure. Truth be told, there's no pressure that you have to defeat so-and-so in class. You have to be number one. You're your own teacher, in short. So I think they did a good job in the debate. They gave really good arguments. If I was to side with them, I don't think homeschooling should be banned. In my opinion, it should just consolidate or amalgamate the two. Okay. Come up with something good.
So there was also the argument from the proposers that when we homeschool our children, we are underutilizing teachers, as a resource. Edward, do you agree with that?
First of all, as professionals, they have the right to choose which students to teach. They have the right to earn their own income. So I don't think that we should shame them into teaching so many. I think we know that as standards of education improve, there's always a big focus on the teacher-student ratio, right? So that we usually say that the lower the ratio, the better the education system. So this is just a parent looking for a better system for their own child. I don't think we should blame them. I don't think we should blame the teacher for it.
Okay. So, Shanina, do you think a person who comes out of a homeschool system will come out well adjusted and well balanced and will fit into society seamlessly?
It depends, but for me, I believe that homeschool kind of closes you into a cocoon where you don't get to experience a whole other world. And like Wesonga said, once you're dropped into university, it's culture shock because you're not used to relating with people who've not been in your situation. You understand what I'm saying? So I feel like it kind of closes you in. But at the end of the day, as he said, it's quite your choice, your parents' choice. But I feel like it would be better to allow your child to be in a community setting, such that even when they go to the working place, they know how it works. They know that some people will be for you and some people will be against you, and you will know how to tackle each and every one of them due from experience.
Education was much more fun when I was in high school because of the people around me. I met new people. I met Rodney. I met Edward, and so many other people. And I can't imagine that compared to staying at home, having a tutor somewhere, teaching me. And again, the competition was very healthy, because again, it brings a perspective in life that, there are so many people out here and you have to make it somewhere. You have to fit into a space in the society, and establish yourself. And the world has to know what you can offer.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, what do you think?
I prefer my high school life than studying all alone in a house with one teacher and one student. Because as a person, I prefer a place where it's full of people, where I get to know Shinina, I get to know Bill, I get to know Wesonga. That's the kind of education I prefer.
To me, I find homeschooling is something I didn't go. So if I was given the opportunity to undergo through homeschooling, if my parents had that money, then why not?
Okay.
But in a nutshell, I don't regret the system I underwent, the institution, because I got to learn that life is not always about me. You have to accommodate so many people because, as I said earlier, why should I live in a world where I know it's like everything has to go my way? So institutions help us to understand that and to appreciate every tribe, because in a classroom, there are so many tribes, so many ideologies, so many things that what I was taught at home is not what Bill was taught. So I may get to learn from what Bill was taught, Shinina, Edward, and I put to practice what I deem fit.
Homeschooling, I like the idea of homeschooling because it's flexible, and because just looking at the current systems of, let's say, primary and secondary, there's plenty of things you can explore probably at home that you can't learn while you're in school, because there's some, let's say, gadgets you're missing. Yes, like television, for example. I think homeschooling for primary and secondary and so on offers this flexibility because it seems like you're able to take the exams at a specific time, right? Primary and secondary don't necessarily require you to answer to a specific teacher in a specific school to do. There are people who do KCP and KCC while in prison. So that's precisely why homeschooling offers that opportunity, but university degrees do not. Because your parent won't give you a degree, one single professor won't give you a degree. If the system was so fixed such that the only way to learn was to go to school, then homeschooling would be banned then.
Okay. So then very quickly, I want us to discuss the 1/3 gender rule and whether it should be scrapped. That was a debate between Riara and Maryhill Secondary School. I think one of the most important issues raised in that debate was on the fact that when we enforce a rule like the 1/3 gender rule, it's like we're almost abandoning merit. It's like just to fill up this quota and say that we fulfilled the 3rd gender rule, we'll just put any woman, you're female, come, let's give you a seat. That's what at least the proposition we're trying to say. So I don't know what you guys feel about the rule and whether the debate was done justice. Shanina?
Well, I agree with them. It totally cuts off the idea of merit. Let's look at this seat that was established, women representatives. What has it done for us? I feel like they just picked women because we need a woman in there, you know. So I don't think that gender bill makes sense to me. I feel like we need to go beyond the gender, and I feel like the schools tackled the debate really well, and they especially the I think the proposers who had the argument that we need to stop looking at, you know, whether we need more women or what, but we need to look at what is this person bringing onto the table.
What do you think of the one-third gender rule?
I think it should be scrapped because it does not really look into the merits of the woman. Rather, it just looks at her as a woman. And they're just trying to fill the gap that gender equality should be there. Instead of just us looking at the gender equalities, we should just look at what this woman has done for us.
The third gender rule, okay, it was put in there for a purpose, right? The initial idea was to ensure, obviously, that not more than 2/3 of the same gender are represented in parliament, and that was the initial idea. But it's true that to some extent people feel like merit has been ditched out of the door, and also that especially the women rep seat made women unambitious. There's people who say that because the women rep seat was created, no woman wanted to run for senator. We don't have any female senators, we don't have any female governors, because it was almost an assured seat because there's no guy to run against. So my question to the guys is whether you agree with their ideas, and two, if we scrapped the third gender rule, would we then, and we just let nature take its course, just let the internal mechanisms work, do you feel like we'd be able to have a parliament that's that's not overly male or overly female? Okay, the chances of overly female are too slim. Yeah, that's just not overrepresented when it comes to the male side. Bill.
Like in our current society, based on the fact that men and women have close to equal opportunities, you know, such rules should be scrapped off, you know, because
to equal opportunities.
Yeah, it's okay. I use the word close because you know, it has been our mentality that in our society women have been like underrated. What we should do, yeah, the fact that we have equal education opportunities, you know, equal job opportunities, and so many other few things that set the standards in our society that are equal for men and women, we should start to forget the statistics and the numbers and everything, you know, because the fact that you can go to the class and be taught the same way I can be taught with the same teacher and understand the same concept, you know, it does not reflect on what's happening. So let's say most probably the women we are trying to count as they are not as successful as men, you know, maybe they are not, or they were not into this era whereby everything was equal, yeah. But as at now, you know, I've seen women who are older and didn't go to school because maybe their fathers thought education is not for women. They've gone back to school and they're somewhere, you know. So the fact that we have equal opportunities as at now is good enough. So let's not start looking at this gender, that gender, you know. Yeah, let's have equal opportunities. Let women go for them the same way men go for them. Let's kill the mentality in women that, you know, I'm weak, I'm a subject to a man, you know, and so many other things. It will change the society completely.
Okay, so I'll pose a question to Edward. If nature just took its course and we let, as they've said, competition, let's just all go out, campaign, use our funds and, not our agendas to get ahead. Do you think women would be represented in parliament fairly?
Sorry, it seems sexist to me. I mean, I would prefer a rule that says, okay, so let's what about this? What if you had a rule that said, okay, a third of women, a third of men compete for the rest? Would you agree with that?
I would love that one. If they could give us that, but it's still, you know what, a third men, a third, and then we compete for the rest.
You see, but it fosters the exact idea that you're trying to guarantee a sort of equality of results. I think that, first of all, let's not portray this characteristic of victimhood. That, like, you know, women are victims of some sort of blind chauvinism, and just let them compete fairly. Here's what I agree with you: if there's any protocol that is meant to bar women from vying or achieving whatever dream they have, whoever is sponsoring that protocol should go to jail immediately.
I agree with all you guys. Yeah, I need to get a feminist on this panel, and we also need to close the show.
I'm going to quote the exact words you said. Huh? You said that if we have more women in power or in this job opportunities, maybe women would get the morale to work. Aren't they enough? In your opinion, yes or no?
At the moment,
No, yes.
in
Yes,
politics,
who have
in
made
politics,
it. Let's put aside
making
politics.
making
Yes.
it quite a good number.
Thank you. If there is a good number, why can't you as women look up to them? Did they need any favor from men?
Exactly.
Okay,
They did not need
Can I
any
give you guys an
favor.
analogy? Okay, we can
I beg
continue
to
the
differ.
conversation online. Time is not on our side. Great Debaters EA on Twitter, on Facebook, Great Debaters Kenya. Thank you for watching. I'm Mariam Bishar, and this has been the Great Debaters Connect panel.